Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jill Nimchak, and I am with the Wisconsin Out of School Time Alliance, a program of the Marshfield Clinic region of Sanford Health. I want to welcome you today to our webinar on Thriving After the Bell, Engaging Youth with Harmony's Out of School Time curriculum and building these social emotional skills with Harmony. This informative webinar is really designed to explore how Harmony curriculum strategies foster social emotional learning and positive behavior in out of school time settings. We know all of you witness these challenges firsthand, and we hope that you leave here today with a few more tools that help you navigate these situations with greater confidence. I also want to let you know that this event is sponsored by WASTA, the Wisconsin Out of School Time Alliance. So, with all of those logistics kind of aside, I am pleased to turn it over to Camilla and Antoine, who is the Harmony staff. And Camilla, I will let you kind of introduce yourself and your background, but thank you all for joining us today.
Good morning, Jill, and to all of the colleagues that have joined. Thank you so much for having me. As was mentioned, I am Camilla Antoine. I'm a senior implementation specialist with Harmony. I do have another one of my teammates on the call. She's just kind of hiding in the background, but Dr. Sarah Tiedemann is also here. She's our account executive, and together we support Wisconsin in addition to several other states. Again, it is an honor to be part of this. I didn't get to tell you, Jill, but my son is a Green Bay Packers fan, and my husband is a Minnesota Vikings fan. And I don't know how we ended up with these Midwestern, fit fanatics because we live in Texas, and our background does not at all involve that. But nonetheless, I'll get to tell my son today that I got to spend some time with some Wisconsin folks. So thank you again. A little bit about my background. So I've been with Harmony. This July will make 3 years, but I've been utilizing Harmony, I would say, for an additional 3 to 4 years. My background involves school counseling as well as district administration. Where I was, one of my last roles at the district level was to help facilitate Harmony with about 30 different campuses, and not just within the school, but actually some of the out of school time folks were utilizing Harmony as well. And so what's been really interesting in being on this side of the house now is I get to explore beyond just my area, what's happening with Harmony at a national level. And so I get to spend a lot of time, particularly with out of school time partners like YMCA's, Boys and Girls Clubs, and then some of our smaller, more or mid-sized organizations that are affiliated with pre-K through 12 schools, maybe as after school programs, as well as some of our summer programming. So it is an honor again to be here. I do know that we have probably a mixture of folks in the room, and I know you guys are generally used to kind of tuning in and gathering information, which is why we're all here. See it if you can, I understand, but it does help make the conversation a little more interesting. So what you see next to my photo is what we call a quick connection card. These are little prompts that help build community amongst those that are working together. They can be used for kids, but they also can be used for staff. So this is the first nugget I'm giving you within the first couple of minutes is if you lead a staff, I would encourage you to leverage these quick connection cards as you are building community within your staff and also allowing your staff to build some buy-in so that they can do it with their kiddos. So my quick connection card question says, what is your favorite type of snack food? And I know for some of us, this shifts. Some seasons we're into sweet, some seasons we're into salty, some seasons we're into very healthy, light snacks. What's your favorite snack food? If you wouldn't mind, indulge me in by dropping that in the chat. And as you guys are dropping that, I'll think about what is my favorite snack food right now. I was really on this salt and vinegar kick, potato chip kick for a while, but I think I've since drifted. I see cheese and grapes. I love that. I see cheddar popcorn. I'm definitely guilty of enjoying popcorn. So drop it in the chat if you can think of, like, if I were offering a snack, we were doing a road trip and we stop and we go into a good old gas station or convenience store, what would be the snack that you would grab? Drop that in the chat. All right. All right. I see another white cheddar popcorn. I love that. So keep it coming. Again, just another way for us to virtually share space and build community. And who knows, maybe we'll be together one day and I can have a whole table of snacks for you guys. Love that. Boston baked beans. All right. So today we are going to spend, it's going to be fast and furious. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm going to try to give you guys a very high level overview in about 45 minutes or so, 50 minutes, and then give you opportunity to ask questions at the end. Again, I'm super interactive, so as questions come to mind, you can put them in the chat so that at the end you don't forget, or write it down, and then at the end we can address it. So we're going to understand the components of Harmony, the curriculum. We'll explore some of the benefits of how this can support your OST work, and then we're going to talk about a few practical implementation strategies. And I'm going to pepper those strategies throughout this entire time. So again, if you're taking notes, quick connection cards for staff. You might want to write that down because that's going to be something that will really help you leverage some of these Harmony resources or engage in a full-blown implementation. The vision of Harmony, really, we started off many years ago focused on healthy relationships. And as time has developed and we've all experienced COVID and we're now on the other side of it, we've noticed that well-being is something that is not necessarily as stable as we'd like it to be. So our curriculum really looks at how do we promote well-being, foster those healthy relationships, build in a sense of belonging, all those things, not just for kids, but for the educators or the staff that support our kiddos. We also go beyond that now too, and by bringing in family and caregivers. So if you guys are familiar with Harmony, maybe you engaged in Harmony years ago, you will very quickly and soon notice that a lot of our engagement goes beyond just how do we support students, and we do a lot of educator and staff well-being. We bring our families and parents into the fold to empower them. And we also have a uniquely designed out of school time curriculum, which is why we're here today. All right, let's dive into the curriculum overview. The way our components are structured, we have our everyday practices, which is what's represented in green, and we have our lessons and activities, what's represented in teal. When we get a little further into this, I'm going to actually show you what the out of school time content looks like. So we're actually going to go into the portal, but I want to give you a solid framework first so you understand like how it's designed. The everyday practices are designed this way because they're meant to be short, succinct activities that can be done with minimal planning, right? You don't need a full lesson plan. You don't have to fully scope it out. You just understand what those practices are, right? If you were to do a full-blown Harmony training, you would get the understanding of how to do those types of everyday practices, but they're short and sweet. Our Harmony goals are meet up, our buddy up, don't require a lot of prep, get them done. And what they do is they allow students to practice social skills, practice those future ready skills like how to hold conversations, how to share, how to engage with others, and without arguing and fighting. Like it allows for them to practice some of that. What our lessons and activities do is actually they teach the actual skill. So with lessons and activities, you're going to have more of a lesson plan. It is a 4-step process. It's pretty short and sweet, but it does iron out opportunity for the students to actually learn the skill. And you'll see what I mean when we go into a lesson and where we actually flesh it out. And we have units that are built on how do I, number one, build community to be able to do these types of practices. And then how do I build up myself? How do I value each other, communication, and learning from each other? So there's a variety of things that are covered in that content. So let's really quickly do kind of that Harmony overview of everyday practices so you understand what they are. First thing we'll talk about is our Harmony goals. Harmony goals are opportunities for students to have group collective agreements on how they want to treat each other. As you can see on those bullets, we have two types of harmony goals. We have group goals and we have personal goals. When we launch any harmony program and we want to incorporate the goals, this is actually the foundation. This is what sets the tone for all the kiddos that come to the summer program or do the spring break camp or are together after school. These are those agreements that are the glue that keep things moving on how do we want to actually treat each other. So it doesn't matter if the child comes every day or if they pop in here and there. Once the goals are established and new kiddos come and go, those goals reflect how the kids decide they want to treat each other. These are different than rules, right? Very much similar to expectations. But the big thing with this is student child driven, right? So this is not us coming in and saying, here are what our goals should be, or these are our expectations. It's allowing you to allow students to have conversation as a group and decide how do they want to be treated? How do they want to feel? What do they need to do, be mindful of to create a safe environment? Okay, not just physically safe, but emotionally safe. There's also that component of doing personal goals and teaching kids how to set personal goals for themselves. And there's also some steps that we take in teaching how to do that. So that's one part of our everyday practices. The second part of our everyday practices involves meetup. Now, if you are familiar with restorative practices, then you are familiar with community circles. Our meetup is a form of a community circle. And so what it does is it creates a structured system of 4 steps that circle does on a daily or weekly basis that allows students to check in with each other. It's not just sit in a circle and let's just talk about how things are going. It is sit in a circle and have some steps, right? Have a greeting, have an opportunity for 1 or 2 students to share. Let them practice those communication skills. Let them practice building empathy with one another. Then there's some mindfulness activities you can do for the circle. There's some quick connection and community builders you can do in that circle. So there's a lot of different options, but it is structured in a 4-part step for implementation. And what this does when you do it on a regular basis, it begins to empower students to start leading some of those circles themselves and build their leadership skills for them to be in tune with what does our community need right now. You know, we haven't done a check-in in a while. Let's do that check-in. So that is our second part of everyday practices. And it really allows, again, for them to be empowered. What it also does is allow for the students to check in on their goals. So this is where when those goals get created as a group, when they do their community circle, their meetup, they're then saying, how are we doing on those goals? And when you first start this, your staff leader will be the one obviously leading these activities. But I promise if they are done routinely, probably by semester, even before that for some, the kids will know the steps, they'll lead it. And there's enough variety that it's never the same. No 2 meetups are ever the same. So it keeps it fun and engaging. And our third component of everyday practices is buddy up. Buddy up is a quick, again, short, succinct practice that can be done daily. It can be done weekly. You can have Monday, Wednesday, Friday as buddy up days. This is going to be the one that your kids want to do all the time. And it's because it involves again, quick, fun activities. Some of it can be gamified. You can make them challenges, but each child is going to be paired with another buddy strategically. So you would then decide who partners will be for that week. And then at the end of the week, you will rotate. So everybody will have a new partner. What this does is allow students to be paired with diverse peers. They're not partnered with the same child every time. Even in a room full of grown-ups, when I say we're going to do a partner activity, everybody grab a partner, generally we go right to our friends or somebody that we have a commonality with. Maybe we're sitting next to each other and we don't want to get up. It can be so many things. When I intentionally say, here are the partners and you got to get up and mix, and then the next week I change the partners again, this is going to ensure that diverse peer matchings will actually happen. And kids won't just continue to be partnered with the same kiddos every time. And so you're probably thinking, what do we do during that buddy up time? Yes, I get it. We're going to change partners weekly, but what do they do? And this is where your quick connection cards are going to come in play. Remember, at the early part of our session time together, I asked you guys the question about the snack food. That is a quick connection card. And so when I say buddy up is quick, I mean it's quick. So sometimes I put 2 minutes on a timer with a group of kids or even a staff training, and I'll say, you have 2 minutes to talk to your buddy about this particular prompt. They get the 2 minutes of talking. And sometimes I'll say, hey, also introduce yourself. So then it becomes all of this roar of chatter and laughter and connection. Sometimes it's like, hey, I like cheddar popcorn too. Oh my goodness. And we immediately find a commonality, or it's cheddar popcorn. Oh my goodness, I cannot stand popcorn, but what my favorite is chocolate Hershey's Kisses, right? So sometimes there's differences, sometimes there's commonality, but what that does over time is to build connection. Now we know each other. Or I may say, man, I'm definitely allergic to the oil that they use for popcorn, so I stay away from it. Now you know a little bit more about me, right? So what our quick connection cards do is exactly what they say, quick connections. We have different types of quick connection cards, and we actually, before you think, well, how many of those do they have? Is that even going to last me the whole year? There are over 400 quick connection cards. And we recently released some new cards that I will get to show you all that are affiliated with sports. And we have some affiliated with the Special Olympics through a partnership we have with them. So we think about a diverse variety of quick connection cards. And I'm going to give a chance to show you guys how diverse they really are. The first quick connection card is our community builders. Now, community builders are going to be cards that you can do in a classroom community. You can do it in a after school program community, summer camps. These are going to generally be whole group activities. So when I was talking about the community circle that we do called Meetup, this is where you're going to bring these cards into play, right? So they usually involve big groups. So what you don't want to do is give a community builder to two people and say, hey, go do this community builder, because it's not going to apply, right? So think whole group. If you're taking notes, again, community builder, whole group activities that are short and sweet. And if you want to really build on it, you can even have some debrief time afterwards, right? So community builders. Your collaboration cards. Now, collaborations are not like community builders. You're not going to use a whole group for this. You're going to actually do this in probably your pair, your two buddy pair. And if you happen to want to do like maybe small group, like 3 or 4 kids, you could swing a collaboration with probably 3. 2 to 3. I wouldn't go more than that, because these cards are meant to be peer to peer. They're meant to be a cooperative activity. This is where you're going to see how they can get along with 1 or 2 people. They're going to strengthen their collaboration skills. They have to practice communication. They have to work together. And that in and of itself, right? Especially right now where our kiddos sometimes have difficulty with working with others. This is where you're going to let them practice some of that by doing some fun activities, okay? I would always say, if you're doing collaboration cards or any of the quick connection cards, set a timer, because sometimes they are having so much fun they don't want to stop. So always set a timer. You can gamify it. My family, we always play minute to win it games at Thanksgiving. And what I've discovered is kids always love a challenge, right? Or often, I don't want to say always, but oftentimes they like a fun challenge. So you can always put that timer on it and, see which pair finishes first. Maybe they earn some points or they get to lead the next activity. But really, to get them to engage, you got to really get excited about it yourself. And the last type of quick connection card is a conversation card. Okay, so you had community builders, you had collaborations, and now you have conversations. And the conversation cards really start off as just what it is, right? We did a conversation card when we started. What's your favorite snack food? What is something that I love this one? What is something that you have learned from someone close to you? Another one I like is, if you could open up a store, what type of store would it be? So it allows for them to have imagination, to think, to share, to again have dialogue, to build commonalities and differences. I like to often share what I learn when I'm out in the field, either working with kids. Sometimes I get to go out and model some of this with kids. And I was able to model in New York City last year. Sometimes I get to go out and I actually am in person with the staff that I'm training. And once a teacher actually shared with me, she said, you know, Camilla, I like to use these cards as journal prompts because she was working with a group of kids who was trying to learn English. And this was like a way that she allowed them to practice their writing, to practice their English. And after they use it as a journal prompt, then they talk to their buddy about it. And it allows for another skill to develop. So feel free to see this as a journal prompt as well, or as a conversation card. Okay, so now I've covered all three. In the chat, if you can, which one are you most drawn to? Community builder, collaboration, or conversation? Which one are you super excited? Like, I want to try this one with my group, or I want to try this one with my staff, and see how it goes. Which one would it be? Would it be community builders, collaborations, or conversations? So place that in the chat if you can, just so I know. That also help me know how to spend my time. If any of those really draw you, go ahead and drop them in the chat. As you're thinking of that or considering that, this is what I'm showing you actually on the screen is the top of an out of school time lesson in the Harmony content. And as you notice, there's a big green box and it says start with a quick connection. You'll quickly see that there is a conversation prompt there for you. There is a collaboration prompt there for you and a community builder prompt. The nice thing about how they've laid this out for the out of school time teams is this gives you, number one, a prompt right there. You don't have to search for one. Like, if you want to mix it up and search for one, you can, and I'm going to show you how to find it. But if, let's say, your staff doesn't have time to do that, there's already prompts provided here. And so this is really scripted in a way that kind of gives you exact. So you don't have to, if you don't have the capacity or you don't have the capability to hop on a computer, or if you don't have the Harmony kit, what it says is you're encouraged to start and or conclude the activity with one of our everyday practices. And then it gives you, as time allows, here are some options. For best practices, if I'm being honest with you guys, I would for sure start and end with one of them. If you have the time to do both, do both. If you only have time to do one, then I would say maybe do it before. Okay. But these are some great prompts that are here for you that allow for you to kind of see. Yeah, Amy says, I will use all three. For sure, for sure. The nice thing is, for the Harmony goals, you don't have to do them all the time, and then you can dive into one of your prompts, be it, again, depending on the size of your group and how you want to do it. So that makes sense. All right, so through those buddy up and meet up, we've practiced so many social skills. So many, I mean, the social skills go on and on and on. All the things that you're working on by doing your everyday practices. Doesn't matter, be it imagination, critical thinking, patience, engagement, relationship building, including folks, focus, attention, all of those pieces. So I'm gonna really quickly take us into the portal because I wanted to give you guys a quick view of what the quick connection cards. So you do, like I said, you have them at the top of your lesson. They give you prompts. But let's say you want to build, you want a prompt maybe for a staff training. You want to see what other prompts exist because Camilla told you there were over 400 and you're curious to see if she was really giving you the true story. You can come into our portal where quick connection cards live. You will see them broken down, community builders here, collaborations here, conversation cards here. You scroll further down, you see lower grades, you see upper grades. One of the questions that I often get is, what grade level should I be using these with, Camilla? Like, how do I determine that? What I will tell you is if you are working with young children, your pre-K, kinder, first grade, I would stick to, got somebody drawing on the whiteboard. I would stick to the lower grades. So again, pre-K, kinder, first, I would stick to lower grade prompts because they're more simplified. The kids, they're easy for most kids to gravitate toward. You don't have to do much modifying. So these are some of the collaboration cards. Here's one. Body alphabet, form letters of the alphabet with your buddy using just your bodies, right? So what does the letter A look like? They have to try to form. These are collaboration cards, right? Build a tower with your buddy. You get blocks, books, and other manipulatives. So these are some succinct ones. If you are trying to engage anyone else, so second grade and up, then I would tell you you can use actually both the lower grades and the upper grades. So when I'm doing, like, for example, I opened up with a quick connection card. I actually chose a lower grade card. What's your favorite snack food? That's considered a lower grade card, but I often use it with a group full of adults because it's something quick and easy that we can quickly talk about, right? So if you're working with second grade and up, you can use either lower or upper. You actually have more options for the older kids and for the adults. Here is the deck. When you go in, you can scroll the pages. These are designed to be perforated in case you have the ability to print and cut them. We actually have these and physical decks in our Harmony kits. And so if that's something that you decide you want to have the physical kits, you have the ability to do that as well. But we have pages and pages and pages and pages of different prompts. One other thing to know is that these prompts are available in English and Spanish. If you have the need for a Spanish deck, you can do that. This button right here at the top changes your content to Spanish, and you would be able to have a Spanish deck if you needed it. So you have all of these, and then you have all of these. Now, when you scroll down, I mentioned earlier our partnership with the Special Olympics. Here are additional decks. These have been slightly modified for our special needs community, but they can be inclusive, right? So it doesn't solely mean intellectual disability alone use these. They can be with and without disabilities. Kids can use these. And to be honest, some of them, to me, have a good challenge to them. So feel free to take a look at those if you so choose to. There is a link right below it that gives you an information sheet that ties into how to use these. And then we also have a partnership with the U.S. Soccer Foundation, and we have additional decks here that have been modified. And these are for sports-based settings. So if you all, support any additional activities in your programming that are affiliated with sports, these are great. They really focus in on a lot of team building, building trust amongst players. They're color coded. Again, here is an information sheet that ties to this. So if I encourage you, if you decide you want to use one of them, be sure to leverage the information sheet so you have a better understanding of how they're meant to be used. But this is an extension of our Quick Connection Cards deck. So hopefully those sound enticing and, sound like something you would want to dive into. But again, remember, you have all of these skills that we were talking about a second ago that are being developed in the Quick Connection Cards and in the everyday practices in general. Any questions for me so far? Put them in the chat. If I happen to see them and they're applicable, I'm happy to answer. All right, so let's go into the second part. Remember, I told you guys there was everyday practices and lessons and activities. So let's jump into lessons and activities. So in our lessons, we follow a sequence of themes. And so I'll kind of explain those themes. And I think that's going to also help you understand how you may want to build this out in your programming with your students. So we always start off actually with a building community theme because we find that it's important to get everybody on the same page, and get to know folks before you dive in. It's almost like when you go to professional development or conferences and they start off with an icebreaker. Those icebreakers, we go beyond the icebreaker and we build a community, right? We get folks to get to know each other. And so we use building community unit to do just that, and to also slowly scaffold harmony so that the students and the children understand what it is that they're doing. So our building community unit, we consider it like a pre-unit. Right. So now if you go into a situation where the kiddos already know each other real well, it doesn't hurt to still do some of the lessons from building community because it's also introducing harmony and introducing Z, our main character, and allowing for students to get familiar. Unit one, once you're past that building community and you're going into unit one is going to be how do we get our kids to recognize their emotions, right? Being my best self, getting them to recognize their emotions, getting them to start practicing emotion regulation strategies, to help cool down, to help just understand how their bodies are designed. There's a lot of connecting thoughts with feelings, with actions. I was with the YMCA Houston last month in person, and we got a chance to actually do one of the activity, one of the lessons, and it was like teaching the adults, right, that your feelings connect to your thoughts, and that connects to how you behave, and making that connection. And so teaching kiddos, when we begin to change our thoughts, that can then change our actions. And it also in unit one covers growth mindset and positive self-talk. So there's a lot of that included in unit one. In unit two, we go into valuing each other. This is where empathy, respecting each other's differences, appreciating people for their differences, how to support each other, if there's bullying going on, how to stand up for somebody who is being bullied. A lot of that type of content is built into Unit 2. Unit 3 is all about communication and how do you communicate in different settings. Communication on the playground looks different than communication in the library. What are some things you shouldn't do? Interrupt, talk over somebody, not wait your turn, like things like that. So we give some practice time and we begin to build out those skills on communicating in different environments. And then the last unit 4 is all about learning from each other, right? Learning from each other's experiences, perspective taking, more empathy building. This also is a unit where you're going to cover a lot of conflict resolution content. How do we resolve a conflict without yelling or fighting or kicking or screaming or crying, but giving them some actual like processes, right? So we have a step it up where you go through the process of how to resolve a conflict. And then this is also important if you're going to be doing group activities with kids that can get along. Doing some of our activities in Unit 4 will help give them the tools on how to communicate if you have to do something in a group and you guys don't agree on something. So it's like those type of skills. The last thing that's covered in this unit that I think is super valuable is how to apologize or make an amends. Oftentimes you don't see that included in content, teaching kiddos how to apologize and how to like genuinely, sincerely mean it, and how to pick up from where you left off. So that's covered in Unit 4 as well. When you go in, which I'm going to go in here in a minute and show you the lessons kind of in black and white. Here are how they are designed. This, what you see on the screen, is an actual kind of image of one of our lessons. You always start with a quick connection, that green box at the top, but it goes over the steps. So after the quick connection, there's the lesson overview. This provides you, the adult, with the synopsis of the lesson. It's timed, so it tells you about, hey, how much time is this lesson going to take? And then you have the 4-step framework for the lessons. Step one is everything that your staff would need to do to prepare for the lesson. Do I need scissors? Do I need markers? Is there a piece of chart paper that the group will need? What is needed? Should I have a copy of the game board because we're going to do a little game? And so in our OST lessons, you're going to notice we don't have a ton of things that you have to prepare. Sometimes there is nothing you have to prepare. But in some cases, if the kids are going to build something or do something, there may be something that you need to prepare. So step one is your preparation. Step two, how do I introduce the concept of the lesson? This is fully scripted, y'all. So it's going to have like say, and it's going to tell you what to say. That is in teal font. So it's very clear to determine what do I say. Now, for people who are veterans in like delivering this type of content, you might not want to use a script. Every time I think about scripts, I think about when I used to have to deliver standardized tests as a teacher and they would give you the script and say, hey, you have to read this. We have this script for convenience. So if you need it, use it. But if you feel better kind of summarizing or paraphrasing in your own words what's there, feel free to do that as well. But it will give you opportunity to introduce the concepts. You will see say, do, ask. Ask will have your questions, right? Your prompting questions. This is getting the kids ready. Step three, you're going to go ahead and lead and help the kids kind of get into the lesson, right? This is your go. Step three is your go. How do I get the kids to actually do a little activity on their own while I monitor, right? And then step four is the stop and reflect. The stop and reflect is where you conclude the lesson, you stop what they're working on, you bring everybody together. There will be debrief questions or some type of way to summarize what we've just covered. So that's the format and flow. So now what I'm going to do is take you back into the portal and actually show you where these lessons exist. And we're going to peek at one a little closer. All right. So we're looking currently at our lower grades. Now, when it comes to the lessons, these are grade banded. So there's not a unique lesson for first grade or second grade. They're grade banded. And so this is going to be a way to really make it streamlined for you to roll this out by the grade bands that exist within it. The first thing you'll see is your pre-unit, the building community. You have 10 lessons to help begin rolling out with harmony. When you go into unit one, being my best self, you'll notice you have 5 lessons here, 5 lessons for unit 2, 5 lessons for unit 3, and 5 lessons for unit 4, giving you a total of, let's see, 30 lessons. 30 lessons, right? Pretty clean and straightforward. In addition to that, you have a 5-week summer program, and I'll show that in a minute, but I want to give you guys a clear indicator. So let's go into, let's do linking emotions and thoughts. So I'm going into unit 1, lesson 2, so you guys can have a better look at it. And I'm actually gonna, let me see if I can download it just to make it a little bigger. Oh boy, let's see. And hopefully this will make it bigger for you all. All right. If you can't see it, please let me know, but I think it's showing well. All right. So as I mentioned before, we're going into a lesson. I started here with that quick connection. You guys can see it's saying, hey, give yourself about 5 to 10 minutes to do one of the quick connections or to do one of the everyday practices. When I scroll down, my lesson overview is here. It says youth identify how they think situations influence emotions, recognizing that others may have different emotional responses. What's the prep for this? I need feelings face cards, so 1 per group. So you may have to print that off in advance. If you have the kit, it'll already be in your kit. If you're not working with a kit, you would need to come back to this. You have tokens. This is optional if you want to give them some type of little token. And then they're going to work in a whole group first, and then they go into smaller groups of 3 and 4. So it's kind of giving you an idea of the direction that the lesson is going in. Unlike everyday practices, the lessons do involve some prep. So I always say, take a look at the lesson in advance. Make sure you actually know what you're doing so you execute the lesson well. When you get down to step 2, you're going to introduce the activity to the kids. Here's what you're going to say. Here's what you're going to do. Here's what you will ask. So it kind of gives you a clear indication of what you do, what you say, what you're going to ask. Okay. And allowing for responses to come. This is designed this way because we recognize in OST spaces, sometimes you have degree professionals, but not all the time. Sometimes you have college kids, sometimes you have retired teachers, sometimes you've got a little bit of everything. And so we want to make it really cut and dry so anybody could follow it. Going into step 3, you're going to go. You're going to actually do. So you're going to introduce, hey guys, we're going to play a game and talk about situations and the emotions we might feel if these situations happen to us. We're going to use our feelings faces chart. I will give you a situation, and each group will put their finger or or a token on the feelings face that shows how they would feel in that situation. Then we'll talk about why you think you would have that feeling and if it's the same or different from each other. And then you have the do. So here's what you do, give everybody a chart, and then here are some scenarios or situations, and you're going to let them as a group decide, talk and decide. You're going to monitor, so what to watch for. The little eyeball tells you, hey, what are you watching for? You're going to do so many scenarios, get them to practice it. Maybe even have them come up with some scenarios and let them talk about it in groups. And then you're going to stop after you've given them 8 to 10 minutes to do this. And you're going to come back and you're going to bring everybody together and you're going to say, hey, we thought, about how situations are connected to our emotions. We talked about how our emotions can be the same or different. Now, what do why is it important to think about how situations make us feel? So now I'm kind of getting them to debrief and process. What do you guys think? What about thinking about how each other's feel in that same situation? What do you think? Why do you think we have different feelings based off of who we are? And then allowing for them to process, right? And then included in this little bundle, you'll see the chart that you would hand out. And keeping in mind, these could be kindergartners, first graders. And guess what? You might have to explain calm to them before you hand it to them. A lot of times they'll know sad, but they may not know mad. So, differentiate sad and mad. Surprised, proud. These are some words. And in lesson 1, you might have the introduction of some of these emotions, right? You also have them in black and white. If you want to print and not use up all your ink, you definitely have that option. So that is just a quick walkthrough of one of the lessons. It's going to vary, obviously, depending on upper grade and lower grade and what's being covered in that time frame. As I mentioned, there is a summer learning series. So this is kind of an extra bonus we've recently added. It has 5 weeks of content. Quickly, I will show you. It has day 1. If you want to drop little nuggets of harmony, what you could do day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 in a week. I work with some orgs that have 10 weeks and they're like, Camilla, how can I build this out? Then I would say, do a alternating process where maybe you only cover harmony Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the following week, Tuesday, Thursday, and that'll give you opportunity to flesh out and extend this from a 5-week series to a 10-week series. So that's something to know. There is a guide, a summer guide that goes with it. So make sure you check out the guide. It does flesh out how the whole program can be structured. And again, if your brain is really like reeling and thinking, okay, Camilla, I have more questions. put those in the chat. We're going to be doing some Q&A here in a little bit, and I want to make sure I honor time for questions as we go through. So some supplemental resources that I also want to drop for you all so that you all have context. One is our Harmony Game Room. And this is obviously an app, so you would need like a phone or a tablet. So depending on the circumstances you're in, you may or may not be able to leverage this resource. But I'll show you really quick, kind of the desktop version of this. I'm gonna go back to the portal real quick. And I want to give you guys a little quick view in some of the games. We don't have a full, series of games, but we do have some activities that are digital that actually support some of the Harmony lessons. And so you'll quickly notice there's digital quick connection cards there. We have a commonalities game. What gets a lot of love is the relaxation station because it has some calming activities you can do. So if you have, let's say, maybe your kids that get upset, they get emotional, they get anxious. They, as a former school counselor, I had my frequent flyers that were my criers or my kids that would have difficulty managing. And sometimes it's good for everybody. So I say teach the strategies when they're not upset, as opposed to saying, here, you're upset, here's the tablet, go do a relaxation activity. You teach the activities before the kiddos have that difficulty, but there's some breathing activities here, some focusing activities. So there's a lot of resources there. We have the Battle the Bully Bot game. This gives them some application types of things. Most of the games are going to be for your older kids, like your third graders, your fourth and fifth graders will like them. Some of the little, like the relaxation station, anyone can do. The commonalities game, anyone can do. It does read things out loud to the kids. So that's another supplement, and it is free. You can download it on any device that's Apple or iOS or Android, should I say. So feel free to look in your app store for Harmony Game Room, one word, Game Room app. So that's something to have. Another supplemental resource I definitely want to quickly drop for you guys are our storybooks. Now, this is again something you would need to have access to a computer, or you would have our kits. The kits include the storybooks. And so when you go into storybooks, if you're using something where, let's say you're using a classroom to do your sessions and you have access to a computer, they will read all stories aloud to your kids in English or Spanish. And so that's something that's digitally free. If again you have the Harmony kit, then you have a physical book and you can use that. And that also helps supplement. So the day you read a book would not be the day you do an activity. So you can kind of spread out some of the content, but there are storybooks for all the grade levels that you can check out under the storybooks tab. And lastly, before I go to questions, some other supplement, I keep talking about the Harmony kits. I will be remiss if I don't tell you we do have Harmony kits in English and Spanish. Notice that there are some out of school time kits. There are some Harmony at home kits. That's actually a fairly new program resource that we've added to help families begin to use some of these resources around the kitchen table or during family game nights. They can incorporate some of this, some of the skills that we're trying to develop, but doing them within the family. And so we know that a lot of times some of your programs have 21st century requirements or family engagement components. And so that's something that you guys can be aware of. From a closer standpoint, though, I wanted to make sure you guys knew what comes in a Harmony kit. They are at cost. There's a couple of spring promotions happening, but just giving you guys visually, if a kit decided to get a kit for a site, they have two sets of kits. They have an upper grade kit and a lower grade kit. They come with the activity guidebook, so all the lessons are in the book. All of the handouts are there that can be accessed. They come with storybooks. They come with quick connection cards and a Z plush, which is our mascot. This is also new. Harmony at Home not only does it have a box, but it also has a kit. I mean, excuse me, an app, which is kind of cool. This just launched at the start of this year, and we've had families engaging in it and utilizing it. This too is on the App Store. However, for the spring, I think they're doing some type of bundle where if a site decided they wanted to purchase 10 kits, they get 250 site licenses for this app for their families. And so that's something that you may decide that you want to leverage as well. It's interactive in a different way. We got to field test it. It has articles, it has activities, and it's meant to be something families can use as a guide, but it's not just more screen time. It gives them some do-togethers, which is really nice. And I'm going to wrap up. I think I saw a couple things come in chat while I check for questions. I'm going to also invite you guys to do the survey. The QR code is there. There's a session ID number that's unique to this group. So if you can use that session ID number, you can also access the survey by using the link itself, the HTTPS programtraining.nu.edu. So feel free to do that as well. Thank you, Jill, for dropping that in the chat. Just make sure if you're looking for the Game Room app, you do Game Room as one word. That will help you get to the right app. Any questions for me?
I really thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Love all of those conversation cards, the community collaboration and conversation cards that I think are huge hits that anyone can use. So I appreciate you sharing all of those resources.
Sure.
And I did put some of that information in the chat if folks want to. Camila I did send an email earlier about how you would go to the learning portal and register for getting some access to your free information. So that is also in there. If you go back to your emails, I did send that via an email. So I would just like to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today and for all of the work that you do on behalf of children and families in the state of Wisconsin. We really appreciate that. I do hope that you have an opportunity in the next couple of weeks to use some of these strategies and share this message because we know every little bit counts.